Give us a refresher on what the Innovative School District is and how it was formed, what it's supposed to do.
Republican lawmakers created the Innovative School District in 2016 to try to deal with the issue of low-performing schools. We've seen state efforts to turn around low-performing schools fail, and this was a way to look at alternative ways to try to deal with the problem that we've been unable to solve, which is there are hundreds of schools in North Carolina where kids are receiving a really terrible education and they're performing very low on state tests, and leaders are constantly, and teachers are moving in and out of the schools. So to provide some stability and support for low-performing schools. The Republican lawmakers, of course, have been met with some resistance to this idea because variations of it have been used in other states. But North Carolina has somewhat of a unique model in that it just chooses individual schools rather than a whole school district for the takeover. The takeover basically consists of the hiring of a consultant or an organization that oversees the operations of the school, the instructional support, hiring of the principal for the school, and they work as sort of a go-between from the school to the Innovative School District office in Raleigh.
Terry, this strikes me as a story of real serious concerns. I mean, if a school is consistently performing so poorly, you can't leave the kids trapped in something like that. But it's also a story about hope, because trying something different to try to help those kids. It looks like there's one school that has been put into the Innovative School District. Tell us about that and why.
The one school that's in is Southside Ashpole Elementary School in Robeson County, and it just finished its first year under the Innovative School District. The organization that was brought in to assist it, Achievement for All Children, is the organization that's overseeing the various turnaround efforts there at the elementary school. We don't know at this point how it performed in its first year because test scores are still a month or two away. So that will be one way for us to gauge whether this turnaround effort at least is starting to be successful. The one thing that we know about school turnaround, and especially these schools, which are typically the qualifying schools for the Innovative School District, are usually the bottom 5% of performing schools in the state, is that this is a multi-year effort. If we could turn around schools in a year, I think by all means we would. But this is an effort that usually takes many years. You have to get the right chemistry of teachers and administrators in there to be able to do the hard work of school turnaround.
Terry, when this was proposed that Southside Ashpole Elementary would become part of this special district, there was a lot of pushback in the community. Can we tell if parents or teachers or community leaders have started to accept this as a more hopeful proposition rather than a threatening one?
Well, there was a tremendous amount of resistance from the school board and the county commissioners, and really kudos to the then Innovative School District Superintendent Eric Hall for meeting and being very patient with the various constituencies there in Robeson County. There now has been a change of mind. You find a lot of support for the Innovative School District in that county. They're actually very happy that the Innovative School District came in and is overseeing the turnaround in that school. So really credit to those early leaders of the Innovative School District for coming in, meeting with county commissioners, school board members, and parents, and selling this idea to them and ensuring that this isn't somehow Raleigh controlling a school, but this is very much a local effort that's being led by local leaders and with the support of school boards and county commissions.
You mentioned the early leadership in this special effort. There have been a number of different leaders in this program. What's happening there?
Well, we are on, I believe, our third superintendent of the Innovative School District. James Ellerby was recently hired for that position. It's hard to say what's going on at the Department of Public Instruction and some of these leadership changes. It's not clear whether the problem has to do with the organizational culture of the Department of Public Instruction, or whether there had been tension between the operator of the school and the innovative school district and perhaps the teachers. There's a lot of moving parts here, and if you don't have the right person in that position, I could see that not being a long-term a job for someone that's unable to manage the various levels of governance that occur here in an innovative school.
That's such an important point because on the surface, when you hear there's been a turnover and 3 different leaders in a couple of years, you're thinking, my gosh, something bad is going on in there. Perhaps so, but isn't it fair to say that for something special like this, a very important specialized program, you've got to find the right person to be able, as you said, to deal with all the different pressures. My goodness, it's got to be a very, very difficult job.
And one of the biggest pressures is the timing. And this is something that will be hopefully rectified in legislation that's been proposed in the House that's now in the Senate, is that test scores come out, and once the test scores come out, they have to quickly determine which schools qualify. And then they have to quickly find an operator for that school. And then they have to go to that community and convince the school board and county commission that this is a good idea. And then the whole process of transferring some of the assets and resources to the innovative school district starts. In other words, there is basically a 6-month time frame in which all of this would have to take place.
That sounds almost impossible.
It's really difficult, extremely difficult. And that was one of the complaints of some of the folks that were involved in the ISD, is that it was an unreasonable timeline. So they're trying to fix that timeline, make the decision sooner, so to give them more of an opportunity to reach out to communities and to touch base with those who would be affected by the change.
Terry, there are some folks who take a look at a low-performing school and would say, well, this is simply an issue of money. We've got to focus in on more resources. We've got to pay teachers more. We've got to provide a lot more per pupil expenditure, etc. I know you've written a lot about this, saying that certainly money is a factor, but talk a little bit about the approach that will be required to try to turn around a school that has such low performance.
Well, it starts with something that money can't buy, which is high expectations. And unfortunately, you find that in low-performing schools, there's very low expectations of the kids. That's reinforced by the principal and the teachers. And that's the culture that persists, and that's one of the reasons why the school doesn't perform well. So that's definitely part of it. But what the Innovative School District allows these schools to have is flexibility, is to do different things, to have the charter school-like flexibility that enables them to maybe customize classes, to not have to worry about things like class size, and give these kids the education that they need based on what local conditions mandate they need.